Hello. Today we're back with another controversy video, another scandal video. So this one was suggested by Nate in the comments of the last one. So huge thank you to Nate for suggesting this topic. And that topic is the 2002 NBA Western Conference Finals. So once you've heard this story, let me know in the comments whether you think that this series, and specifically one game, was fixed or rigged by the NBA or not, or by someone else. The question is, do you think that what I'm about to tell you is a scandal or an extrapolation of facts? So, let me take you back a couple of decades. The new millennium was sort of the start of a new era for the Lakers. So, Phil Jackson had just come on as coach, and Kobe and Shaq were really hitting their stride on the court, despite feuding off the court. I forget who said that Shaq and Kobe weren't necessarily on the same page, but they were in the same book. I really like that. We can't forget that legendary alley-oop in I think it was the Western Conference Finals in 2000, Game 7. Kobe up to Shaq for that beautiful dunk. And in 2001, the Lakers finished 15-1 in the playoffs, which is still a record if you ask me. I know that the 2017 Golden State Warriors, they finished 16-1, which gives them a better win percentage. Technically, I think that's a 9-4-1. But in 2003, the NBA changed sort of the playoff format for there to be a best of 7 in the first round rather than a best of 5. So I think the point is that a one loss in the playoffs is the NBA record. And by 2002, the next year, they had won the three-peat. But this is where it gets a little bit sticky, because a lot of people think that three-peat should never have happened. There should never have been a three-peat. And here's why. So, Western Conference in 2002, the Sacramento Kings are seeded first. They beat the Dallas Mavericks in the conference semifinal. The Lakers were seeded third, and they knocked out the number 2 seed San Antonio Spurs in the semifinals. So they were meeting in the conference finals. So the chance to go to the championship finals. Scott Howard Cooper was covering the NBA at the time for the Sacramento Bee. So you'd figure they were leaning towards the Kings a little bit, and keep that in mind for later in the story. But sort of as the setup to the series, he said it was the big city of California against what was perceived to be the sleepy little capital town of California. North versus South, established versus wannabe. There were so many things that drew them together. I think especially Shaq and Phil Jackson, they liked to talk taunt Sacramento and their fans a little bit over the years leading up, where they kept meeting in the playoffs. So there was definitely a bit of rivalry going on. So the first two games are in Sacramento. The Lakers and the Kings split those first two games. In game one, the Lakers come out with 36 points in the first quarter. They never trailed. They were always in the lead for this game. Kobe was good for 30 points, Shaq for 26 points, and the Kings were shooting under 40%. So this one easily went the Lakers' way. Now for game two, and this isn't necessarily part of the bigger picture, the scandal here, but it is an interesting piece of the story for this series. First of all, Shaq is struggling with fouls during the game. But the big piece, the big news piece here is that Kobe was suffering from food poisoning, which he said that he got from eating a bacon cheeseburger from the hotel where the team was staying at. I think it was the Hyatt Regency Sacramento. And so rumors started swirling that this had been done intentionally by the hotel staff. So you've got, Mark Madsen, who was a forward for the Lakers. He said, when we stayed in Sacramento in the future, we switched hotels because of that incident. And I'm not saying it was anything malicious, but it's like, hey, the mind can wonder a little, right? On the other hand, you have, Doug Christie of the Kings saying he seemed like himself. I never fell for any of that stuff. If you're really, really sick, you just don't go out there. They were like, oh, Kobe's sick. I didn't even hear that. I was more like, I'm not listening. So, two sides of the story here, but still, after the game, Shaq said, in order to beat us, you have to beat us and beat us fair and square. There's only one way to beat us. It starts with a C and ends with a T. So we're already sowing the seed that there's some cheating going on. Although, you could argue that Shaq was a little bit biased in that scenario. Then we move to LA for game 3. The Kings dominate. They led by as many as 27 points in the game, and they never trailed. Weber and Bibby combined for 50 points, and that's really when the Lakers start to realize that the Kings should be taken seriously. Game 4 ended up being quite exciting. Sacramento, the Kings start with a 40-point first quarter. They were leading by as many as 24 points, I think, in the first half. However, the Lakers managed to bring that down to a 14-point lead for the Kings. There was a three-pointer at the buzzer at the end of the first half that should not have counted. It was Walker who shot it, and he released the ball after the buzzer. However, at the time, in 2002, they were not using video replay for officiating purposes. So it counted. It was good, and the Lakers are down by 14 at halftime. By the end of the third quarter, the Lakers managed to bring it down to a 7-point deficit. And then at the last possession, they're down by 2 points. So one basket can tie it, send the game to overtime. Kobe misses a running layup. misses a shot on the rebound. Now at this point, Vlade Divac, who played for the Kings, I think he had played for the Lakers previously, but by this time he was playing for the Kings, he sort of knocks the ball away, just hoping to run down the clock. But instead, the ball just lands perfectly in the hands of Robert Horry, who just so happened to be waiting back behind the three-point line all alone. Horry, who later I think got the name Big Shot Bobby, was it? He throws it over Weber, and somehow he beats the buzzer. The Lakers win by 1 point. So this ties the series at 2-2, going back to Sacramento for Game 5. Game 5 is another 1-point game. Shaq fouls out at some point. Kobe misses a potential game winner at the buzzer, and Sacramento win this game 92-91. And now comes Game 6, probably one of the most argued games in all of the NBA, maybe in sports. So, Game 6, May 31st, 2002. The series is 3-2 for Sacramento. So another win gets Sacramento into the championship finals, eliminates the Lakers. The referees for this game are Dick Bavetta, Bob Delaney, and Ted Bernhardt. And they become important figures in this game, especially two of them. So, the whole thing can be summarized by saying that in this game, the Lakers end up shooting 40 free throws, 27 of them being in the fourth quarter alone. Divac and Pollard for the Kings, they both foul out. And so, spoiler alert, the Lakers won 106-102, and Shaq led with 41 points and 17 rebounds. And this is really where the controversy comes in. The fouls, the free throws, the missed calls, the bad calls. I mean, 27 fouls, 27 free throws in the fourth quarter is a lot. A sports columnist for the Washington Post at the time, Michael Wilbon, he wrote, "I wrote down in my notebook 6 calls that were stunningly incorrect, all against Sacramento, all in the first quarter, when the Lakers made 5 baskets and 21 foul shots to hold on to their championship." So he points out, for example, that Kobe very famously did not get a foul called against him when he elbowed Mike Bibby right in front of an official. I think it was in the chin or something. But that is often the one that's pointed to as being, fishy, a little bit suspicious. It's like these guys were committing fouls, flagrant fouls, right in front of the officials, and they didn't get called. So on the one hand, you've got, Rick Edelman, who was the coach for the Kings. He was quoted as saying, "All I have to say is the elbow from Kobe to Mike's mouth and Shaq taking Lawrence Funderburk down, those 2 calls during the regular season are flagrant fouls." And then you've got someone like Kurt Rambis, who was the assistant coach for the Lakers, saying, "Even though referees say they ref games the same way, each game of a series and in the playoffs compared to the regular season, I just don't think it is. I think the game gets more and more physical and the referees allow more and more things to happen." So on the one hand, you have, the Kings saying the officiating was terrible and they got screwed over. And on the other hand, the Lakers are saying, no, we were physical, but that's how the game is played, especially in the playoffs. And also, the Kings were playing to foul intentionally. That was their strategy against a big physical team like the Lakers. The Kings at the time were a finesse team. And the Lakers, they had Shaq, enough said. So the Lakers are saying it shouldn't be a big surprise that the game went this way. And that, the Kings were called for so many fouls. Now, there's a very interesting article on 82games.com where Roland Beach, he analyzed the game and he came to the conclusion that there were 8 dubious calls that favored the Lakers. He sort of came up with this formula that basically tried to calculate the impact on the referee's calls, their missed calls and their bad calls during the game. And he came to the conclusion that the Lakers would get a net bonus of 6 points in the game from, the referees, from sort of the referees impacted the game to a point where the Lakers gained 6 points that in a perfectly officiated game they would not have had. So you can interpret that as playing a big role in the conclusion of the game when the final point margin, the final point difference for the game was 4 points. And now Roland Beach is saying, well, at the end of the day, the referees influenced the game for 6 points to the Lakers. Now, we need to jump ahead in time a little bit to 2008. In June of 2008, Tim Donaghy, I'm going to pronounce it Donaghy for the purpose of this video. And then I'll do some research because I do want to make a video just about him, just dedicated to him, because his story merits an entire, I would call this a controversy video. His is a straight up scandal. So I will get his name right before the next video. So yeah, for those who don't know, Tim, I'll just call him Tim. He was an NBA referee who was convicted for his own wrongdoings as an official, as a referee, in 2007. Okay, so he's not the most reliable witness or person. But anyway, so he's convicted in 2007. In 2008, his attorney filed a court document that said that he had learned from referee A and that referee A and F wanted to extend the series to 7 games. Tim knew referees A and F to be company men, always acting in the interest of the NBA. And that night, it was in the NBA's interest to add another game to the series. The document also claimed that Tim told federal agents that in order to increase television ratings and ticket sales, top executives of the NBA, this is a quote, top executives of the NBA sought to manipulate games using referees. It also said that NBA officials would tell referees to not call technical fouls on certain players, and that there was a referee who had been previously and privately reprimanded for ejecting a player early on in a game in January of 2000. So he would have been reprimanded by the NBA. Now, of course, David Stern, who was the commissioner of the NBA, he said he denied the accusations. He said Tim was a singing, cooperating witness. But it makes you wonder why he brought it up. Again, Michael Wilbon, the reporter from earlier, he said, I don't believe that David Stern called anybody, or that my bosses at the network called anybody. I don't believe any of that, because it would get out. Nobody can keep their mouths shut. I just think that people have a bad night. The referees said that they had a bad night, and the media were sort of backing that up. So, with all that being said, I want to hear from you in the comments. Do you think this was just regular old bad officiating, or was there something a little bit more sinister at play? But how does this story end? Well, Game 7 comes around in Sacramento on June 2nd. The Kings, players, the coaching staff, everyone on Sacramento's side is just consumed by Game 6. They thought they had the win, they thought they had been the superior team, and they thought that the game had been taken away from them. That being said, it is a tight game for the most part. I think there are 16 ties throughout the course of the game, and 19 lead changes. So anyone's game, it ends up going to overtime. But at this point, the Kings just looked timid and overcome by the weight of the moment, the size of this game. Gerald Wallace of the Kings said that they were sitting on the bench with earplugs in at home. So yeah, just completely overwhelmed. Sacramento is missing shots all over the place. They went in overtime. They went 16 for 30 from the line and 2 for 20 from the 3-point line. Meanwhile, Shaq, Fisher, and Kobe, they're just making all of their free throws. So in the end, the Lakers win 112-106, and they go to the championship final. Scott Pollard, a player for the Kings, he said, "You can blame the loss on the referees in Game 6 and have a valid argument, but the bottom line is we still had Game 7 and we choked, and we didn't win Game 7. We should have. As much as it hurts, I feel like I should have a ring from that team." Bobby Jackson said, "We beat ourselves. Watch the tape. Look at all the mistakes we made, all the free throws we missed. We were actually a pretty good free throw shooting team. We shot ourselves in the foot." And Scott Howard Cooper, the reporter for the Sacramento Bee, who we talked about at the beginning of the story, he said the Kings couldn't make their free throws. That's the bottom line. There was no fix on that. So it seems like, at least the players, the local media from that time, they don't seem to believe that there was a fix on the game. The Lakers went on to sweep the New Jersey Nets in the finals, and that would be the Lakers' final title before Kobe and Shaq's feud ultimately forced Kobe's trade to Miami. And that is the story of the 2002 Western Conference Finals. Thank you again to Nate for suggesting this one in the comments of our last scandal video. Let me know in the comments which scandal we should look at next. Let me know if you think that the NBA Game 6 Western Conference Final Series was rigged by the officials, by the referees, by the NBA. And I'll see you soon for another video.